everybody. Welcome to another episode of the SCP podcast. My name is Patti Weiter. I'm the marketing chair for SCP, and I'm joined today by Dr. Lacey Farrow, our DEIA chair. So, Lacey, I'm so glad to have you here with me today.
Thank you. I'm really glad to join.
Yeah. So, first, I just wanted to see if you could. I know you know so many SCP members, but for those people who don't know you, if you wouldn't mind to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes. Again, Lacey Farrow. I'm actually a business psychologist by training, but I'm also a clinician, mental health clinician on the master's level. Went into the clinical world, into the neuro psych world, and said, you know what, I'd like to do something a little bit different. So I somehow ventured into this world, and I think just seeing workplace experiences and seeing a lot of attrition and challenges with leadership has led me to the current journey. But other than that, I'm a wife, I'm a sister. I'm a person who likes to be creative and just spend time expressing myself and just being in community and finding ways to balance professional life and personal life and just keeping it fresh and fun.
Okay, awesome. Well, I love that your journey I think like a lot of people who come to SCP, we have like an interesting sort of path that leads us to consulting. So I love that you can, use some of probably what you learned in your neuropsych path in your business psychology. So tell me a little bit about your work and your practice and what kind of specialty you like to work in.
Sure. Yes. Well, with my consulting firm, I do wear a few hats. I've been in the corporate strategy arena, so a lot of strategic planning and analysis. I also serve as a trusted advisor, maybe for those who just wanted more so advisement on governance or things like corporate social responsibility, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and other areas. But I also do a lot of leadership development. That's where my real, I have a huge passion for leadership development. So I do retreats, I do coaching. I do executive coaching as well as emotional intelligence and organizational development coaching. And it's just a fun way, especially those retreats and coaching. It's just kind of a fun way to really help assess where, someone's leadership style is, how they like to grow. Are they aware of their leadership development path, their history? And how they can make that work for them and those who are in community with them. So those are some of the activities that I'm involved in. And I just love what I do every day. And I find that the work is rewarding, whether I work with entrepreneurs or smaller mid-sized businesses, but also in the government work that I do. I find that very fulfilling. And I feel like there's always something new that comes up as well with those clients.
I love that you're sort of, finding different ways to apply whether that be individually with groups, in different types of settings, the psychology that we can bring, I think can be so beneficial to so many different areas. So I'm wondering when we think about your role with SCP, being the diversity domain chair, I know that you made, some emphasis to say, we're going to talk about accessibility as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I just wanted to see, if you had, thoughts about maybe why you took the diversity chair role first, and then, a little bit more about sort of your vision for that.
Sure. Wonderful question. I took this position, I didn't plan on taking this position. I think it's like a lot of things that I've done is, just continuing to grow and be available and be willing to help and put boots on the ground to all of the work that I do in SCP. I think having a willingness and a heart to want to help and contribute has led to that. But it actually, came up in conversation and in connection. And, when I thought about it, I said, well, I don't know, that might be a little too busy for me. But the more I mulled it over and, I thought about the benefits of how the organization could benefit from, continued objectivity, someone who could be, continuing to be committed to the mission and vision and helping it to develop and being able to spend that time. And I said, you know what, well, I don't think anything really bars me from doing that. And I am committed to seeing all people flourish, all ideas flourish. and really seeing us expand the legacy of not just DE&I, but just the field as a whole. So I said, this is a great opportunity to really mobilize some great efforts that, we've been working towards, but, still need work on. And I said, let me take this on. And I said, okay, we'll take it a day at a time. And here I am.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to have you, in that role and serving SCP. I know a lot of us that get involved, it's sort of like SCP has given me a lot, so I want to be able to find that way of contributing back to the other members and the leadership. So what are some things that you want to be involved in as a diversity domain lead, and some of the things you're working on?
Yes. And you actually just mentioned accessibility. So I'm going to piggyback on that topic.
Yeah.
That was just brought up. One of my plans is to really look at some specialty areas, specialty interest areas that we can really grow and expand on that doesn't come up as much in our space in consulting psychology. And accessibility is one of them. I'm really passionate about it. One, because I grew up in a community and I had we'll call them adopted family that was in the deaf and hard of hearing community. So I was around that coming up. I'm not fluent by any means, but I do know a little sign language. But that always influenced me in understanding some of the depths and differences and how someone else may live their lived experience with, having different able-bodiedness. Having that experience. And also, roughly about maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now, I had a client that I started seeing more in the therapy realm. But my client was a sing person, and she went into becoming more and more blind, and she got to the place where she was blind. And that really impacted me in a positive way to think about interventions and being very thoughtful about this work. Long story short, I was able to empower her and get back out and do things that she felt she couldn't do anymore. And I said, how many others, even in the workplace, may not have the opportunities and feel disenfranchised. So I wanted this to be a space where we can do public psychology work in going out and doing our wonderful coaching and retreats and just all the wonderful things we do, even strategies around accessibility. So I have a project now where we're going to be launching what is there to know about this disability and able-bodiedness? How can we become a greater part of these efforts to really make sure people are living their best experiences in the workplace? And also would love that to trickle out into their, regular everyday work-life balance.
Yeah. So making sure that, what we're offering is accessible to all people. And I love the focus on lived experience, being able to bring in those diverse lived experiences so that we can really, develop a broader sense of what we do as consulting psychologists, and bringing in all of those different perspectives. So, I'm wondering if there's an SCP member that, is interested and wanted to be involved. Are there any ways that you feel like, you could benefit from having SCP members support what you're doing?
Absolutely. And there's a lot of ways, one thing you always hear me talk about is time commitment. I want to be thoughtful on, time commitment and not have people feel guilty about whether they can contribute a little time, a medium or a large amount of time. So I like to meet people where they are, where they can contribute in a way that's beneficial to both of us. And they also feel like their voice is being contributed. So one thing that we do is you can always send emails or feedback of, what you'd like to see, or, just maybe some points of wisdom. That's a quick way that's very low or no time commitment really involved. So you can certainly do that. We also have volunteer roles where if you want to have an ongoing role within the committee, there is a DEI committee. So this is an opportunity for you to have a certain role. So we have certain roles such as wisdom collector. This might be someone who goes around and collects pearls of wisdom, maybe some tips and, points of advice around DEI. And I would add the A, accessibility and sense of belonging with the B, but anyone who wants to contribute. So we certainly have done that with senior leaders in the past, but I'd love to open that up to taking wisdom from a little bit of everyone. We all have something to share, and I don't want to exclude any voice from that. And we have other roles as well. So we do need someone who's a liaison for our conference. So who can help make sure that DE&I is interspersed in every aspect of the conference, making sure we encourage people to submit proposals, and just making sure that we just continue to put that voice in with those who are planning the conference. So those are some roles. But very briefly, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of our programs.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a few programs, but some of our main programs are our DEIA Excellence Scholar Cohort. And this is a newly launched program that's a year long. We offer a service learning project as well as DEI ongoing training. We have talks that we do. We have a lot of structure in that particular program to get mentorship and DEIA, but it's also an opportunity for someone to contribute an original project to the division and to the community. And this is a way that we're continuing our legacy while having people also say, you know what, I'm building something here that's my own, and they can really feel like they're doing something they can cherish. And then secondly, I'll just say this piece.
Yeah.
So we also have another aspect as well. We have our scholarships and grants. So we have our DEIA Excellence in Research grant. So you can be a bachelor's student, master's, or a doctoral level a student as well. We offer those, and we are going to be offering early career awards as well. And then we have our dissertation award. So if you are still in a PhD program and you finished your dissertation early and it intersects well with DEIA, please apply. Those applications will be out shortly within the next month. And then we also have the same opportunity. If you finished your dissertation within a year, you still qualify for that.
Okay. So there are a lot of really, broad different ways to get involved, whether someone is still in school, if they're a member who has a little bit of time to offer, or if they'd like to be a part of the committee and maybe contribute more time and take on a more formal role. And it sounds like y'all are staying busy with lots of really, important work that contributes to SCP. So I'm excited to hear more about that, and I'll look out for those applications, and we'll make sure we help get those promoted. So how about just, for you personally, what is something that, really inspires you or something you really enjoy outside of work life?
Great question. To be honest, I'm very academic, I'm very analytical, but I'm also the everyday person who just likes to relax and have fun and laugh. I love life. Being able to express myself and just do something maybe even goofy is fun for me. I like to have fun and just be filled with laughter. So, whether that's doing something more artistic and creative, so I might do something like poetry. I might write and create songs. I might draw. I love gardening. So I might do something very much in the self-care realm, or maybe something self-expressive. One thing that some people know about me is I'm very much into Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine. So I do a lot of mixing up my own ingredients for self-care reasons. So I'm very big on that in Pinterest, a huge part of my life. And also just, even if I just find a game to play, sometimes I try to find something to stimulate my mind that's not serious, because I feel like the trick for me is, how do you balance very serious with having the load off by being not so serious? So I feel that balances my life more when I'm intentional about that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. You have a variety of interests that I'm sure we could talk more about. With your thoughts on, SCP, the conference, what is maybe one memory or something you feel like you really value about SCP?
Yes, to be honest, I feel like it's something others say, but I really love the sense of community and collaboration. I did go to a conference a few weeks ago, and not everybody talks to each other, and you may just be, by yourself, and you're in that bystander observer role again, and it's a little strange. And you get used to that at SCP with being able to have a community, and people ask me, well, Lacey, what do you think about this? when I'm kind of used to, and years and years past, unless I'm the clinician or the person talking directly, if I'm in a group, not everyone's necessarily asking what I think or what my perspectives are. So I really feel like there's a uniqueness and a specialness to what we do here. And I just think I feel like there's a sense of joy that you do not see in other communities, to be honest with you, because you always see a smile, you always see like there's a sense of family, which is not something you always get. You can get that in a group of 10 or 15, maybe if we get really close. But when you grow to larger numbers and you can still maintain that, I think it's very special, deep, and it just changes your life as a person and not just as a business owner or a professional.
Yeah, definitely having that sort of authentic connection, being able to really have high quality interactions with people when we do get to be together. Definitely think that sense of community is not something you get in every professional organization, that you get to know people for who they really are. So I totally agree on that. Anything else that I haven't asked you about yet, but you feel like you'd like to share with our members, or anything else that is on your mind?
Yes, when I'm thinking about DE&I, I just want to talk a little bit about my philosophy as well, because I think everyone comes in and when you hear that term, people are like, well, what do you mean by diversity? Well, what do you mean by all of these things? And, very simply, all of us have some element of diversity. And I try to really emphasize the fact that it's not necessarily something we can put in a box and says, well, these are the only criteria that fit, or we only want to hear from you when you fall into this category. I really want to give a voice to everyone. So for me, I'm going to give some terms, but this is not necessarily just the only application. So I think of even regional, where you come from in the country. Some people from Florida, that's a whole country, that's a whole regional, the way they do things. Texas has its own little way and style. So does Louisiana, and if you go further up north to Oklahoma, there's a little different spill on how that feels than Texas. So I feel like we all have cultures, whether it's our age and even the traditional path we came from. Think about some of our social psychologists who may be in the division. They come from a culture as well, what they've learned, the people they've been around, versus maybe clinical and consulting. So I believe that there's so many ways that we can look at culture, from thought, from profession and training, from maybe what we look like. But I think we have to go beyond the just what I look like, because this is when I feel like we have silos, and it's, well, are we better or worse? We kind of appraise, we have that cognitive appraisal, and we start making these different, having these biases, these attribution biases that aren't always helpful and that really shut down conversations before they can get started. So I'm very big about approach me, have questions. I'm usually the smiley person in all of the meetings. You're always going to see me smiling. Sometimes it hurts because I smile so much, but I just can't really stop doing that. But approach me, talk about diversity. And again, your ideas are valid. And we just want to come together from a sense of humanness first, from a sense of shared experience, and saying, hey, we're on this journey together. Let's at least love it, live together, come together in unity, and find a way that we don't have to keep focusing on what went wrong or the differences, because there's a whole nother side of what's going right, where we are getting it, and how we can continue that. So it's a balance of looking at both. But I think we have to be smarter about how we approach it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you sharing that that sort of perspective on diversity, making sure that we're thinking about the aspects of the diversity that maybe we don't see or think about first, recognizing that people have intersectional identities, that, there are lots of different factors that make them who they are, and being able to embrace that when we connect with our community at SCP. So I really value your time that you've spent with me here today, and definitely your service to the organization by serving as diversity chair. So thank you so much for being with us. And anyone who's listening, please connect with Lacey if you've got ideas, if you want to be involved. We want our SCP membership to be engaged and a part of all of the work that we're doing. So thank you for being with me, Lacey.
Thank you for your time, and I will send my email so that they can contact me.
Sounds good. Thank you. Bye, everyone.